Let's get one thing clear right away. This is a video about building your first $100,000 and why it feels impossibly slow, made specifically for people who are starting late. If you're 35, 40, even 45, and your savings are nowhere near six figures, you're exactly who I made this for. Now, you probably already believe two things. One, that the first 100,000 is the hardest. And two, and this is the belief that actually hurts you, that compounding is a young person's game, that if you didn't start at 25, the train has already left the station. The first belief is true, and I'll show you exactly why, with real numbers. But the second belief is mathematically wrong. By the end of this video, you'll see why someone starting at 40 in Europe, with European salaries and European banks, can still get there, and why the years after 35 come with three advantages the 25-year-old simply doesn't have. We'll go through four things: the brutal math of the first $100,000, the silent mistake a third of European money is making right now, the one number that matters roughly 10 times more than your investment returns, and the late starter advantage nobody talks about. Each one gets more counterintuitive as we go. Let's start. Part 1. Why the first $100,000 really is the hardest. Sometime in the 1990s, at a Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meeting, a young man stood up and asked Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's lifelong business partner, Murray, how to build wealth. Munger's answer became legendary. He said, and I'm softening the language slightly, the first 100,000 is brutal, but you have to do it. I don't care what it takes. If it means walking everywhere and never buying anything without a discount, find a way to get your hands on that first 100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas. Harsh, but he wasn't being dramatic. He was describing the math. Wealth works like a snowball rolling downhill. And at the beginning, your snowball is tiny, the hill is flat, and you're pushing it entirely by yourself. Let me show you what that looks like in euros. Say you invest 500 euros a month into a broad, boring index fund, and it averages 7% a year. Your first 100,000 takes about 11 years. 11 years. That's the painful headline, and most people quit somewhere inside it. But watch what happens next. The second 100,000 takes just over 6 years. The third, about 4 years and 4 months. The fourth, 3 years and 4 months. Same 500 euros. Same 7%. Every milestone arrives faster than the one before it. Why? Because of who's doing the work. Of your first $100,000, roughly $66,000 comes out of your own pocket. You do 2/3 of the work, and compounding does 1/3. By the fourth $100,000, that completely flips. You contribute about $20,000, and compounding delivers the other $80,000. In the beginning, you carry the snowball. Later, the snowball carries you. So yes, the math is brutal at the start. But here's the thing. Most Europeans have quietly made it even more brutal with one silent decision. That's part 2. Part 2. The European cash trap. Across the European Union, households keep roughly 30% of all their financial wealth, almost €1 out of every 3, sitting in cash and bank deposits. Not invested. Parked. Now, some cash is smart. Everyone needs an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses, untouchable, boring in the bank. That money is doing its job, but everything beyond that is quietly shrinking. Between 2021 and 2024, cumulative inflation in the euro area was around 20%. If you kept 50,000 euros in a typical near-zero interest account through those 4 years, its purchasing power dropped by roughly 8,000 euros. You never felt it leave. No red number ever appeared on your statement. But at the supermarket, at the petrol station, in your rent, it's gone. And the cash trap punishes late starters hardest of all, because the one resource you can't replace is time. Every year your surplus sits in a deposit account is a year subtracted from an already shorter compounding runway. The good news? Europe is waking up. In Germany, ETF savings plans, the famous Sparplan, exploded from under 2 million in 2019 to a projected 20 million in 2026. Ordinary people, 50 or 100 or 500 euros a month, automatically invested, some plans starting from a single euro. Investing in Europe has never been cheaper or more accessible than it is right now. But maybe before you rush off to compare brokers and funds, stop. Because there's a number that matters about 10 times more than which fund you pick. Part 3. The only number that really matters below $100,000. Here's a quick test. Investor A is brilliant. She earns 12% a year, but invests 200 euros a month. Investor B is average, 6% a year, half the return, but invests 600 a month. Who reaches 100,000 first? Investor B, and it's not even close. B arrives in about 10 years. A, with double the investing skill, needs 15. Think about what that means. When your portfolio is 10,000 euros, a spectacular market year of 10% adds 1,000 euros. Meanwhile, saving 300 a month adds 3,600. Guaranteed, with zero risk, zero luck, zero market timing. Below a $100,000, you are the engine and the market is barely a passenger. Above $100,000, the roles slowly reverse. This is why chasing hot stocks, crypto moonshots, and miracle funds at the start of the journey is the wrong optimization. People spend hours hunting an extra 2% of return when the same energy pointed at their savings rate, negotiating salary, cutting one recurring cost, redirecting a bonus, moves the finish line years closer. The unglamorous truth: below $100,000, the fastest lever is the percentage of your income you keep. Every extra percentage point of savings rate beats an extra percentage point of return at this stage. Which brings us to the real reason this video is for people over 35. Because when it comes to savings rate, you have an advantage. That's part 4. Part 4, the late starter advantage. 3 facts the "you should have started at 20" crowd never mentions. First, you're entering your peak earning years. For most people, income peaks in the late 40s and 50s. The 25-year-old has time but no money. You have less time but real firepower. A 40-year-old investing 600 a month builds wealth faster than a 25-year-old investing 150, and doesn't need any market genius to do it. Second, you have more time than you think. Start at 40, and in most of Europe, you still have 25 to 27 years until retirement. At 7%, money doubles roughly every 10 years. The rule of 72. 25 years is 2.5 doublings. Every euro you invest at 40 multiplies more than 5 times by 65. That is not a rounding error. That is a fortune with your name on it. Third, and this is the one to remember, 500 euros a month from age 40 at 7%. At 51, you cross $100,000, the hard, slow one. At 57, 200,000. At 61, 300,000. At 60 feet over 400,000 euros. And a 400,000 euro portfolio growing at 7% generates roughly 28,000 euros a year, which, in many European countries, rivals a full-time salary. Your money finally has a job. A good one? Is 400,000 at 65 as good as having started at 25? No. I won't lie to you. Starting earlier is always better. But less than perfect is not the same as too late. The perfect time was 15 years ago. The second best time is this month's Shibri. So here's what you now know. The first $100,000 is the hardest. Munger was right. But it's the hardest. Because at the start, you are the engine. And engines don't need luck. They need fuel. Every single month. Automate it, feed it, and let the snowball take over from there. If this changed how you see your starting point, subscribe. Every week, we break down long-term money decisions for people who refuse to believe it's too late. I also post daily about markets and long-term investing on X. The link is below. And remember, this is education, not personalized financial advice. Your country, your taxes, your situation, that homework is yours. The first 100,000 is a grind. The second is a project. The third is momentum. And even after 35, you have time for all three. See you in the next one.